Dzień dobry Państwu. Thanks very much, Andrew. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today because what you are working on is really the cutting edge of what the future of democracy is all about in all of our countries. And certainly one of the hallmarks of Hillary Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State, which actually today is her last day, is in fact leveraging the technologies of our interconnected world to improve political participation and government accountability everywhere. 21st century diplomacy is rooted in American values that embrace open markets, open societies, and open governments. New information networks have altered power dynamics around the world, and they are forcing governments to respond. We're witnessing today a decentralization of power away from government and large institutions and towards networks of people. And let me tell you that as a traditional diplomat who served in Poland during the 20th century, in the 1980s and the 1990s, I've returned here as a convert to 21st century diplomacy. It reflects the values of personal democracy that you're going to be discussing here today. Before I was nominated last year to be ambassador to Poland, I had never used Twitter and in fact was very skeptical that it could ever be of much use in diplomacy. And when Secretary Clinton told me I had to open a Twitter account, I actually did it kind of reluctantly. I thought it would be dangerous and risky. But I can tell you that today it was the single best advice I got for preparing for this job. Twitter has put me in contact with thousands of everyday ordinary Poles, most of whom I probably never would have had contact with in this job. And one of the things I like about Twitter is that people are not always very diplomatic when they communicate that way. If I went to normal diplomatic meetings all the time, I can be sure that people would typically tell me, I think the microphone. Hello? Okay. So one of the things. Okay, I think. So typically, before go to diplomatic events or meetings, people typically tell you what you want to hear, and it's a very dangerous risk of the job of being a diplomat because you can't really be effective unless you understand that you are working in. Are working. And people definitely on Twitter feel a lot freer to express their real opinions than they do face-to-face. It's also a great way on a personal level to improve my Polish language capabilities. And I learned that last weekend when I was on a train headed to the south of Poland, and somebody pointed out that instead of saying I was on the train, I was actually writing in Polish. I was writing on top of the train. And so my fellow tweeters caught the mistake and advised me that I better get inside the train to avoid catching pneumonia. That's personal democracy at its most personal. But I know that this new technology not only prevents diplomats from catching cold, but it also keeps our societies healthy and vibrant and makes government, including us diplomats, a lot more dynamic and a lot more accountable to the people that we're supposed to serve. As all of you know better than anybody, new media breakthroughs in the service of civic activism have helped support in the Middle East, in Europe, North Africa, and throughout the rest of the world. And as, again, all of you know better than anyone, an open internet is critical to this. And that's why me and my colleagues throughout the diplomatic service work very hard around the world on the issue of keeping the internet open and free, because we believe the open internet is going to foster long-term prosperity, peace, and progress, and government effectiveness. And governments that block, censor, or punish internet activity are not only discouraging innovation and entrepreneurship, but they're also sowing the seeds of eventual revolution against their own interests. In closing, I want to wish you all a great amount of success during the discussions today and tomorrow, and I look forward to hearing from you on Twitter and learning about how I and others can join you in using this new communications technology to help solve social problems, to help do our jobs as governments, and to promote democracy. Thanks very much, and good luck.